less than 1% of businesses make it over $10 million. So think about that. Like all the businesses, like what, you tell me, do you have it today? No, you don't have it. But when you go through that refiner's fire, like, can you come out the other side? I don't know you well enough. I haven't seen you go through the, opposition to say like, yeah, man, you got this, like, go ahead. But what I would say is like knowing the numbers, knowing the group, having your LLCs in place, having the bank accounts, understanding the licenses that you need to hold, like now you have this platform.
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Ritchey and Cameron Bawden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
What's going on? If you're looking to start a business, Cameron and I have dissected the process that Cameron has gone through, and I've only gone through once, of starting 6 different businesses and knowing what to do in the first 12 months to give you the chance of having the most success possible.
Listen, here's my biggest thing. People always, and I think we've talked about this in another podcast, they see the perception of things and they just think, oh, this guy's making so much money, I'm going to go do that thing. And then they just start the business. Right. My dad saw a window washer the other day. He's like, man, this guy charged me $1,200. He was in and out in 3 hours. He's probably making, $800, $900. I'm like, maybe. But my advice to people out there right now is if you're wanting to start a company, go find someone in that industry that will literally show you the profit margins that they're operating at. And maybe they're running a good business or not, but just see like what they're making. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 15. Like try and, dissect those answers from that person so that they can help you avoid a lot of pitfalls. Like I wish I would have done that with our auto glass company. We just thought, oh, let's get into this. We can bill insurance companies on average $750. Technicians make $150 a day. The glass is going to be a couple $100. Like we literally thought we'd make $400 to $500 per windshield. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think a guy could do like 6 in a day or something like that. We're like, whoa, that's absolutely phenomenal, right? We get into it 2 years down the road, insurance changes the way that they're billing. And even before they change that, we were making like $50 to $100 after everything. You can't run a company off of that. So that's one example for me, day one that I would do before I even form an LLC. Okay. But if we want to go down the list, like, of course, go vet the business of what you're wanting to do. Once you know that you're set on that business, create a name, file it. Different states require different business licenses and what you have to hold. For pest control, we have to have a qualifying party, and then you have to be licensed yourself. For carpet cleaning, there's no regulations. None. For pools, no regulations. It's the craziest things. We had an explosion back in the warehouse. Were you here when that happened? The guy literally went to the hospital. He mixed 2 chemicals together, exploded in his face, and like it was a mushroom like bomb. Yeah. No licenses. And this is how messed up it is. If you mix all of our chemicals together, like nothing would happen. Our products together. We don't call them chemicals. But that's what's so crazy. So you need to understand the legality of every single business and what's required from a license perspective. And then you need to go form your bank account. Okay. So you had your mentorship to make sure that you understand the profits. You have your you have your LLC, and you have your name, and then you have the bank account, right? What's the next thing you think that person should do?
Can I make a quick, it's not even a pivot.
Please.
Okay, this has to do with the first 12 months, but it also has to do with how you approach things, with how you get advice from that mentor. And just real talk real quick. What you think you're going to get from business is not always what it is.
Don't go down the dark train right now.
No, it's not a dark train. It's a positive train. I'm looking out for people.
It's called the bright train.
Right? It's, okay, but this is what people don't think about. What do you want from this thing? Because if you want to scale and you want to have employees, you want to have all that, you have to think, what am I going to do now that can be replicated And how much am I going to have to pay for that? Because if you talk to a mentor or if you talk to somebody that's doing it and they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years in, whatever, and maybe they say 20%, but even that doesn't even truly mean that they're making 20% of whatever their top line is. And I guess it depends on them saying if their truly net income is 20%, that's fine. But like genuinely, you and I had someone come up to us and, separately, and they want to start a business. And I'm not cynical at all of starting a business. However, I really, really want people to know that if you want to do this business because you are good at something or you enjoy grinding and you enjoy working, like I believe those are the people that are probably going to be the most successful, are the people that want to start the process and they're dedicated to delaying gratification as long as possible. So I promise you, I'm still talking about the topic, but before, like, it's what you hit on, but it's, if someone like, okay, for instance,
Squirrel.
I come up to you, no.
Squirrel,
I come
man.
up to you and say, Cameron, I really want to start a business. I just want people working for me. I love the idea of like, I could just be at home or go on vacation every day and, and they're running the business. So I really want to build passive income. I want to build my business. Talking to you about you having X margins isn't going to do anything because that's just not the right mindset to go into business. The probability, you're 14 years in, you still show up for a couple hours a day because you have to. You have to keep the framework. You have to keep the standards going. And yeah, you can pride yourself on being able to leave for 2 months, but I think you bring it at best. You pay for that. Mm-hmm. When families like, oh, like must be nice, like whatever. It's like, I pay $1 million to take this vacation. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, what does that mean? A lot of labor. So I'll digress. I just want to make sure that the right people or the people understand that if you want to be a solopreneur, that's one thing. But if you want to do something big and scale a business and go big and have a bunch of employees, 250? Close?
With coconut.
Okay. So you're talking health insurance, something that you may not even know, entirely about. Mm-hmm. Like there's just so much that goes into it. So I know we're talking about the first year. I just really want to make sure that people understand that if I knew what I knew now, I would have done a lot of things differently.
So what are those things?
I know that's what we're talking about, but I really just want people to know that I love the grind. You love the grind. If you were to take $100 million and sell out of all the companies, you're still going to find some channel to scratch that itch of progressing yourself in work. Mm-hmm. What it is, it might change. But when I hear people, and I'm saying this because I hear enough people say, like, I just don't want to I want to have the passive income. I want people running the business and I can be anywhere I want. I just think that you're far away from that. You can be far away from that.
If they say, but I'm willing to, work for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years to get that. Right. Like, does that still scare you?
Not if they say I'm willing to work that long, but I feel like most people want what they want now. And I'm like, again, 7 years into this, like it's a grind. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of mistakes. So again, that's why I say I'll digress and I'll talk about the fundamentals of the first 12 months. However, prior to starting the business, I really think you should understand that it's going to take a while to do it right. And that you have to really make sure that you are obsessed with the process of bettering yourself and working really, really hard.
I think that's to your point. You need to understand, and maybe that's one of the bullet points at the beginning, as you're forming your LLC, as you're creating your, the name of the company, is go find that business owner that's at the size that you want to be at. And Correct. You're deciding, do I want to be the guy that has 100 employees or do I want to be the guy that has 5 employees? Because that's a lot different lifestyle too. And kind of the uphill battle. Yeah, but exactly. But you need to decide where you want to be. And you can get to that point of, hey, my original goal is to get to 20 employees and then reassess, but at least understand. And I think we're saying the same things as at least understand what that grind looks like. And that person, if he's being honest and not trying to flex, will be honest with you. And that's why when a lot of people ask us and talk to us about being an entrepreneur, I think we we try and kind of talk them out of it because we're like, we don't know if it's right for you. You know, an employee the other day asked me, like, you think I have what it takes to be a business owner? And I was like, I just don't know you well enough.
Right.
And that's not an insult. I think anyone can do it, but you have to go through that transitional phase of understand, like, it's going to take a different level that I've never experienced in my whole life to get there.
Right.
And that's the thing, like, and, you know, I talked about this on a podcast the other day, less than 1% of businesses make it over $10 million. Yeah. So think about that. Like, all the businesses, like, what you tell me, can you, like, do you have it today? No, you don't have it.
Right.
But when you go through that refiner's fire, like, can you come out the other side? I don't know you well enough. I haven't seen you go through the, you know, opposition to say, like, yeah, man, you got this. Like, go ahead. You know, like, I want to support you. And I think that's going to be one of the hardest conversations that I have with banks. I look back on my parents, you know, when I was starting all these companies and when I started Green Mango, like, they never gave me any doubt. They never gave me like any, like, yeah, it's hard or anything like that. And I don't know if that was on purpose or because they've never done it before, but like, I don't know if our approach is right or not. But what I would say is, like, knowing the numbers, knowing the group, having your LLCs in place, having the bank accounts, understanding the licenses that you need to hold, like, now you have this platform. Then I would recommend, you know, and this is where Dusty came into play for us so key, is like, he was a branding expert. Yep. And he created a brand before really any customers were brought on, because, you know, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. You want to start it off on the right foot, right? The minute you knock on that customer's door, what are your brand rules? What's your website look like? What's the uniforms? You know, how's the office going to respond to you? And, you know, once you have that package of things, it's like, hey, now go to market and decide where you want to allocate your funds.
Right. Yeah. And we left off where, you know, you just expounded a little bit more on the brand, but LLCs form, bank accounts there. My initial,
the one thing have in place a CRM. We went cheap on not having a CRM. You need to have the processes in place and the CRMs in place as if you were the 20, you know, employee company today. A lot of people get it as they go. It's like, no, invest the money now and start the systems right.
Right. Your CRM is your customer relationship manager. It's basically the software that allows you to store your customers, schedule your customers, bill your customers. So that was one of the things I was going to mention.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say, I have a close relative that started landscape design, and he was so good at design, but the marketing, the bidding, all this stuff, he got rocked. Mm-hmm. But he loved going to a job site, looking at a house and be like, this is what I would do. And his pictures look so good, but his portrayal, his ability to sell, it all just flopped. And so when I think about the account setup, LLC, CRM, you have to go out. If it's carpet cleaning, you call up your friends and family and say, hey, I'd love to clean your place for free. Could you just post on social media, let people, know, pest control, all these different services, like, hey, you start with who you know, and then you hope that the word starts getting out that, hey, in this industry with this common issue that a lot of people have, there's someone new in the market, and this is why I use them. Because primarily, if you enter into a market where people use frequently, you're asking a friend or family member to use you over them. Mm-hmm. So especially pest control, where a lot of people are locked into agreements.
I was going to say, in carpet cleaning, like, I'm 5th generation carpet cleaner. Yeah. It's like my grandpa, my uncles, all of them. So I'm taking business away from family.
Right. No, right.
You didn't care at all.
I didn't.
I cared.
No, I didn't. Well, and that's what I thought was so cool, is that my family used your uncle for 20 years.
I forgot.
No, I'm like, Mom, please use us. Please. Right? So you start right away. You have to get out and you have to do. So if you are really good at servicing pools,
I was just gonna, like, who was your first customer at
my
Coconut?
Mom, my parents' house.
I love that, man. I remember, I can't think of his first name right now, but his last name was White. I'll never forget Dusty calling me like, hey, we got one. And it was Dusty's like
true.
Yeah. Well, like, this was a family. This was well, not family, but this was a close friend of Dusty, but nonetheless, like it's a big deal. He had another company and he switched over, and I'll never forget it. Like we had his paper contract on the wall forever.
First 3 customers in our CRM, if you look at Coconut, Olivia Ritchie, Megan Horn, and Lana Dodd.
There you go.
Those are the first 3
like you'll
people.
never forget those people because
No.
it's it, you know it's everything.
No, and I went to my family's house, my parents' house, and then I said, hey, like start letting people know. My parents don't do social media, so they just like took a picture of the van. They said, you know, Evan started his own carpet cleaning company, whatever. So I really want to tell people that when you start, you have to do and you have to avoid this idea of, well, I'm going to really, really strategize and get super analytical and create all these business plans. Just go get lost in the work.
Yeah.
Go knock, go tell everyone, do everything you can do that costs you almost $0. And that's just your time and letting people know about your services. And then to your point about the CRM, the second you start getting friends, family members, whatever, that's so important because as you start getting hundreds and then thousands of people in there, you can campaign drip them, market drip them, you can text drip them. Oh, here's what I'd say. Now we're talking.
Okay,
now we're
here
talking.
we go.
Lexi,
Finally,
okay?
you're going to give us something good.
Regardless of how you start, get everyone's
finish.
entire information. It is how you finish. Get everyone's entire information. So I remember going to like Megan Horn, and it's like you probably just said, "Hey, this is my buddies," and I put them in as Megan Horn. There probably isn't an address in there, and maybe a phone number. But it is so important to get the email, phone number, address, and then that is the moment of reciprocity where I feel that people are wanting to give the most because they want to help. And so if they're not going to pay for a service because they're helping you out, the least you could do is like, do you know a few people that could use these services?
Yep.
So really take advantage of that opportunity where you're giving and giving. Don't be afraid to ask those people for something back, and that is like a paying customer. Because I remember my mom, the $100 bill she gave, I was there probably for 3 hours cleaning everything. And then she's like, no, please, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, hey.
You never reported that.
IRS. No, IRS, you could go look at it.
Yeah,
it's
no.
the first $100 recorded.
No.
Okay. Don't know where it went, but the point is that it was recorded. No, I just remember that feeling of like, okay, this is the first 100 in exchange for my services. So all that stuff established, go with who you know, with what costs you $0 or close to $0, and maximize that like crazy. Go park in, parking lots, go to the Gilbert, farmer's market when there are a lot of people are passing your car, like exposure in your time. And ultimately, like you're trying to get people's attention because that's the best currency you can get. And so go all in and give in your time.
I was coming out of the airport on Saturday night, and when you come out of like when you're paying, there's the overflow lot for like oversized vehicles.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these guys did it on purpose, but I feel like they're this good to like do it on purpose. Five Guys Roofing is just parked right there on the end for everyone to see their truck coming out.
Is that the Stoles or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't, but I was like, I like it, man. Huge old lifted truck, Five Guys Roofing on the side right there.
I love it. And again, so never start a business to start a business. You solve a problem in any given industry. And that's what I love. I love the feeling, and the reason I want to stay so competitive is I love the idea that somebody out there in this market thinks like, I should start a carpet cleaning business because they all suck.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked the Green Mango people, I said,
What people?
All the managers.
Okay.
I said, if we were to all go start a competitor because we know the internals of Green Mango, what would we do to outshine Green Mango? Thinking, because they're all like, I love Green Mango. Then I said that, and they're like, I do this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't transfer customers. I would handle this faster. I would do same day services. And I'm like, okay, so businesses grow to the level of our constraints. Let's solve these constraints now and make sure that we are able to do same day services, next day services, that when a customer calls in, that we make as little amount of options for them to get transferred. And we started to do that. So I love this idea that somebody's out there and is looking at our stuff and they're like, I could compete.
Suck. Yeah.
And I like to think that way. And so that's what motivates me now, is this idea that everyone else, Stanley Steamer, all them, like they're getting comfortable. Like it's no longer the founder. It's just some executives that run the company. The founder's dead and gone.
Yeah.
And, other companies like ZeoRes, like they've been bought now. It's corporate owned. It's by people that have no invested interest in terms of why it originally started. And then it's like, okay, it's us, it's me, it's you. Like, let's go, all gas right now when all these other companies are probably letting off. Like that's where I think like that's where I want to dominate. I would say specifically too, in the first, few months of starting the company, is starting to understand like your differentiators and your standards. And it's the compliment I've given you the last few days, and I'll just continue to roll with it, is that if you're an owner operator and you're like, I get done with my day at 6 o'clock and I'm tired because I'm the owner operator and I don't clean my van, you're slowly but surely starting to set the standards with yourself that will ultimately become the standards in your company. So in your first 1 to 12 months, it's so important for you to establish what is important as far as the deliverables to the customers. And then I would highly recommend this. Here we go. I would highly recommend systemizing your operations as quickly as possible, writing them down, and making sure that anybody that comes in can immediately look at something and say, you're a founder, you're busy. I know that I'm going to start taking a route tomorrow. This is the green mango difference. This is the coconut difference. And then do the small and simple things like daily training and writing down all your systems and operations. Even if it's simple, write them down and continue to refine them and make sure that ultimately what you're doing is scalable so that anybody that comes on the team can immediately start replicating what you're doing.
I love that. That's why I'm a huge advocate of like working in every single department. There's some people that own companies like, I'm never going to be a technician, and I never was a technician. I just think they're missing out on that. So whether you spend 3 months in that, department or 3 years, whatever it might be, depending on how fast you're scaling, I think it is important that you wear every single hat at some point so that you can understand like a day in the life of that person, and then go create that, that manual, if you will, of how to run it. And I think that's where we went wrong, is because we felt like it was so simple, like, well, we're going to write this down. It's going to be 1 page or 2 pages.
Right.
But that makes all the difference for that person, is clarity. And that's where a lot of business owners go wrong, is failed expectations and understanding of what's required of that position. And then when that person doesn't do what, the owner wants, then you're just frustrated and you're burning through people, and, you start going down that path.
I remember coming to work for you 13 years ago. Your training for me for door-to-door pitch was maybe 30 minutes. And then we all hopped in a car to go do oh my freak. Okay. So it's like me, Alex, I forget who else.
John Kirby, Sam.
Yeah. You literally, it was like, hey guys, so
Listen,
like
guys,
if they ask this, then this. I was probably promising
Meanwhile,
the
I
customer.
just got trained like 6 months ago.
Yeah. So I'm like, do we do unicorns? Yeah, we take care of unicorns around the property. Snakes, everything, we take care of it. It's an a la carte package of pest. We're doing pest control. Yeah, pest control.
Yes.
And then because you were down the street knocking, because you had to start bringing in cash to pay for the commissions I wanted. So
I'll never forget. If we've told this stupid story, then I apologize. Dustin had no money, but with door-to-door programs, it's all about the incentives and daily incentives, right? So we went out and bought this, like, was it an Apple Watch?
No, it was a Hex
What
watch.
What is a Hex? Because it looks like an Apple Watch.
iPod Nano.
Okay, because Apple Watch hadn't come out yet. But
Correct.
it was
They just had
freaking
the
dope. It was
iPod
sick,
Nano.
man. And it was expensive, okay? Dusty and I were so cheap that we'd throw an incentive out, but, like, you had to win the incentive to get the incentive. So essentially, like, we'd have, how many was there? 9 boxes, right? And like there was only one good prize. But if you had what was it, like a 3-day or a 5-day, then you got to choose like a box. And all these boxes are worth like $5-10 because we're like, but we're like, we have to have one good prize in there. So we spent a couple $100 on this watch, however much it was at the time.
It was an
like,
iPod and a watch.
So
watch band,
like a couple $100, which we really didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, I'm like, we were in the room and no one else was in there, Dusty and I. I'm like, put it in that bottom middle one. Like, no one will choose that one. Freaking Evan, bro, comes in. He's like, that box. I'm like, are you sure that box? Yeah, that box. Statistically speaking, no one chooses that box. I'm going to choose that box because,
Like, you think it's where my eye level went, but I'm going to go to where.
He opens it up, man, and gets stuff. I just remember thinking, like, there goes a couple $100, man.
I'm like, this company's so freaking nice. They're so giving. Dusty's like, that's coming out of that's gonna be bad. But no, and I respected what you guys were doing because I didn't contextually think about you were competing against the people that I got recruited by, and they're giving away. Hey, anyone who sells Hawaii trip for anyone that sells over 300, you go to Hawaii. I'm like, hey, see you guys. It's been nice. The watch is super great. But in those first few months, it's like, or I think I was like towards like right after the end of the year, but I feel like you guys had established, hey, we want to, I'll never forget this word. People, we don't talk about it enough. The word premium. That was like, was that day one?
Oh yeah.
Like that word. So again, know what you want to do, know how you want to deliver the thing that it is that you want to do, and be the best at it. And I knew partnering with you for Coconut that we didn't have a lot of the stuff figured out, but we were obsessed with being the best at what it was. So, hey, we don't have all the answers, but if we figure out something in 6 months that can make the process better for Coconut, we're going to do it.
Yeah, even if that means costing us more money.
You guys prove that. Because like we were refining the Coconut Club, and 99 for 160 was like, oh, okay, like that's like doing $160 worth of work. And then it turned into this like free to join, do more, give 50% off. And I'm like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, we're not sure, but we're going to try it. So, there's a lot of variables that go into like having the check boxes for your first, 12 months. But, one of my favorite things that I hear from a lot of the people I look up to in business is they pretty much say, look, like if you want to compete at the highest levels, you have to be on top of what it is that you are going to do, and you have to deliver it better than anyone else.
But to your point, as you started, like, go do all those little checkbox things that we mentioned. Your name,
in fact,
LLC,
I think people do that
account,
first because they're excited.
Get that done, but just start. Like, just go. And that's where a lot of people get confused or shy. It's like they don't want to hire that guy, or they don't want to go knock the door. It's like, dude, just start and start failing, because the quicker you start failing, the quicker the success will come. Yeah.
And you figure out too in your systems, you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't give that away because that's going to cost me a little too much money. Or you get a little more creative on how you can start cash flowing sooner and allocating debt. And there's just a lot of stuff that you're going to figure out. So good luck.